started now, so we should be live, quote unquote. And I will try to have the chat open on the side, but just in case I miss the chat, I have the slideshow shared to everyone. So we will just go through step by step, everyone who's here to help you out today. And Professor McDonnell, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello. Thanks for hosting us. Oh, look at that nice picture. So thanks to WiCS. Yeah, I don't quite look like that anymore, but that's right. So thanks to SBCS and WiCS for hosting this event. It's kind of becoming a tradition. This is the third one, I think, right? So this is great. So I'm, as it says on that slide, I'm the undergraduate program director. I kind of lead the 5 people here in our advising, advising and outreach of endeavors. Okay. And, I'm also in charge of like curriculum and things like that. So anyway, thanks, Isabel, and back to you.
All right. Thank you so much. And following up, we have Professor Fodor, who is another advisor. Amazing. And would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everyone. So yes, I'm another advisor, CSE advisor, and also the BSMS coordinator. This is the 5-year undergraduate plus MS program in our department. And if you're interested in that program or graduate studies in general, please contact me.
Perfect. We do have some questions about that, which we will go over at the end. And also big thanks to anyone who filled out the advanced registration form, because I have my own list of questions that I will get to first for everyone. So that way we can help streamline the Q&A a little bit. And we also have Professor McKenna. Would you like to introduce yourself? With your spooky backlit. Oh no, did we lose him?
You're on
there
mute.
he is. You're still on mute, Professor.
Oh, sorry about that. So I am actually former student in the department along with Kevin. We were students around the same time, way back when.
We were.
And I am the advisor, a CS program advisor, but I'm also the coordinator for the game programming specialization and the faculty advisor for the SBCS, the Stony Brook Game Developers, and actually the Blood Drive Committee, which is on hiatus at the moment because we can't do any blood drives. And certainly the SBCS, I guess I've been advisor for that since about 2004, 2005. And as CS member, have made many of the courses in the department, I guess, at introductory level and above, including 316, I guess, and to some degree 416.
Perfect. And your advice will be invaluable for today. And we also have Sara. It's very nice to meet you. Hi.
Hi, everyone. My name's Sara. I am a CSE undergraduate program coordinator. My position is a little bit different because I'm not housed within the computer science department. I work in the College of Engineering and Applied Sciences undergraduate student office. So if you're ever on campus, we're in the engineering building in room 231. And we can review your CSE or ISE major requirements as well as general education things that you have to ask as well.
All right, wonderful. And last but definitely not least, we have Molly Kelly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Molly. I'm also an undergraduate program coordinator, a little similar to Sara, but I am housed in the Department of Computer Science. We're not currently on campus, but if you do need me, we're holding appointments through Zoom or over the phone, and I can help you with your CSE requirements and your also general education requirements. Sorry, my dog just walked in. She's a monster.
No worries. That's the reality of working virtually through Zoom. And on the next slide, I have information for connecting with more events. But first, let's go ahead and get that amazing presentation up by our advisors. So I am going to click stop share.
Okay, I'll share my screen for everybody. So
should have the ability.
Yep, good. So everyone should be very familiar with the Undergraduate Bulletin. This has everybody, all of the university's policies, procedures, and major requirements here at Stony Brook University. So if you ever are not sure where to go for advice, your first stop is going to be the Undergraduate Bulletin. When you're looking at the bulletin and you go to the computer science department, if you ever need to contact any of the individuals in this Zoom, you can find our contact information on here. Our phone number, those calls go, I believe, to Molly. And then you have our email address and our website that has a lot of valuable information. On the left-hand side, you can select degrees and requirements. If you're an area of interest in computer science, you'll have to complete the entry criteria that's listed here. It is a little bit confusing, especially if you're new to Stony Brook. So if you do have any questions, we encourage you to follow up with either myself or Molly or an advisor within the College of Engineering to review how the criteria is applicable to you. And then below that, it has all of the requirements for the major. So what you need to do to graduate here from Stony Brook University. Once you officially declare either a computer science major or an information systems major, you're going to be shared this checklist. So this is your CSE major requirements. It also has your general education requirements if you declared it effective fall 2020. Unfortunately, our older majors don't have the general education requirements included, but that's something very simple that we can go over through an advising conversation. Everyone should have, if you're a declared computer science or information systems major, this should be in your Google Drive. Everyone's checklist, it is your first name, your last name, and then your ID number. So you can find yourself your checklist and kind of review it. You only have comment access. We do that because we don't want you messing up, making changes on it. So you can comment on it, and then in live time, an advisor or a faculty advisor will comment back and let you know whether what you're taking makes sense, if it's good combinations of courses, not good combinations of courses, if you even meet the prerequisites for those courses, if the courses are going to be offered and whatnot. So we encourage all students to use this. Many students also use DegreeWorks. That is a tool provided by the university. DegreeWorks should be used in conjunction with a human being. It's not always 100% accurate. So what you see on DegreeWorks could very well be wrong. So always go by your CSE major checklist. This is what the department will use to clear you for graduation. All right. So can everybody see my screen? Okay, perfect.
You're all good.
Perfect. So what you'll see at the top, it'll show the requirement terms. So what requirements you're following for the computer science major. If you have a GPA here at Stony Brook, that will be included here. In order to graduate from Stony Brook, you need to have at least a 2.0 cumulative grade point average. So if you have below that, oh, nope. If you have that, it will show up in a different color versus if you have a 2.0, then it'll show up as green. So you want to make sure your cumulative GPA is in green. You need a total of 120 cumulative credits to graduate. That's going to be completed through your major requirements, your general education requirements, if you have AP credits or anything like that. And then you need 39 upper division credits. So that's all your general education cumulative credit, upper division credit requirements. Below that, you'll see your CSE major requirements, and it'll also show what CSE courses are satisfying specific SBCs. So you can see what you would need to take to complete your lower division courses, your upper division courses, technical electives, math requirement, and then your natural science requirement as well. This requirement here may be different depending on when you've officially declared the major. So if you have specific questions about that, please reach out to an advisor to confirm what you need to complete. And then below that has your SBC objectives that will not be completed through your CSE major requirements. So as a computer science major, these SBCs will not be satisfied by courses that you are required to take and will need to be completed outside the major, either by AP credits or credits you take here at Stony Brook, or transfer credits if you're coming in with transfer credits. All right. So this is kind of the basis of the checklist. What's really great about this is as you start putting courses in here, they will show up on the other side. So you can kind of lay out what you're going to take each semester to complete your degree requirements. And again, commenting on this checklist would be very helpful. Not only does it help us see what you're planning to take, but it gives us an idea as how many students are looking to take that class each semester. So we can make sure that we can try to accommodate students and what they're looking to take. All right. If you officially declare a specialization, which is not required, it's optional for the computer science major, those requirements would show up on page 2 here. And you can, again, keep track of what you need to complete those requirements as well. So that's really the basis of it. If you're looking to figure out what courses to take each semester, the bulletin already has a 4-year sample course sequence, so how you can complete your degree requirements within 4 years here at Stony Brook University. So following this is sufficient or useful. Of course, if you're coming in with transfer credit or something and you're not really sure where you fall, kind of piecing it together, it's like a puzzle. You could always do that in conjunction with an academic advisor. The one thing that I always suggest to students is if you can separate out these 2 courses in your spring sophomore year, we encourage you to do so. The other combinations of courses down here are fine and appropriate. This is okay if you can handle a very heavy course load, especially depending on when you took 114, 214, 215. This could be your first semester of 2 CSE classes. So we really wouldn't recommend taking those together if you don't have to. So that's the only thing in the sample course sequence that we would maybe recommend otherwise, if possible. But other than that, the way the courses are laid out down here is a good sample course sequence and shows that you can complete your degree requirements within 4 years here at Stony Brook. All right. If there's any information systems majors, you also have a checklist that you were shared. If you're pursuing one of these programs, once you officially declare that major, you'll be shared that checklist. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks after the semester starts for all students to receive their checklist. So thank you for your patience in regards to that. I don't think I have anything else, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if anybody else, whether Kevin or Molly or Paul or Rich, want to say anything, that would be great.
I just want to add that for honor students, there is also a sample schedule on the honors page. And also for the BSMS students, there is also a sample schedule on the BSMS page. So it will show how some graduate courses can count both for the undergraduate and the graduate degree, as is the intention of the BSMS program.
And if you're taking the honors sequence, actually, it'll also show up on here, the checklist. If you're in the honors program at the top, it'll say CSHP. If it's yes, then all of the honors courses will appear as well.
Thank you so much for that. I do have a couple people in the chat who asked me about where to find that checklist if we each have our own personal version. I think we may have just missed that when you were going through.
So it can be found in their Google Drive for your Stony Brook email.
It's under the section shared with you.
Yeah.
So if you miss the email, it will not be in your Google Drive because we can't add things by default in your Google Drive. But if you go with to the option below, which is shared with you, you will basically find it there.
And unfortunately, if you are following the fall 2016 bulletin, there shouldn't be very many of you. You do not have a checklist. You'll have to do a manual check with Molly and myself, but anyone from fall 17 forward does have a checklist.
So essentially for some of the senior class, not all of us, but
potentially some of the senior class may not have one, correct? There's very few of you left following fall 16 still. So I say 95% of the students in this will have a checklist. And again, if you're an AOI, you don't have one, but you will be shared one once you officially declare the major.
One other thing that I want to add, since that checklist is read-only, as Sara mentioned, you can create a copy of the checklist for yourself. So you can basically schedule 4 years in advance. And as Sara said, you can basically share that with us at an appointment. And we will basically go over that copy with you and we'll basically check that that is indeed a good plan for your future few semesters.
They do have comment access though, so they should comment on the official checklist so we have an idea.
Mhm.
Perfect. And we do have a question in the chat, which also ties into a question I had for everyone. It looks like courses are now live on Solar. Before we address specific questions, do the advisors or director have any notes or advice when looking at the courses that are available through Solar?
So I guess just a general thing, when you're trying to pick your courses. So first of all, see one of us once per semester if you can, just to check in and check your degree progress, your major progress. Sarah and Molly can check your SBCs, make sure that those are squared away. And I would say rely on us rather than DegreeWorks to tell you how you're doing, because DegreeWorks unfortunately has a lot of mistakes in it. So I would like throw those two things out at you. Second, to answer Isabel's question, when you're looking at courses to take in any semester, just be careful about the particular combinations of classes you take. I saw at least one question about this already. So for example, especially at the 300 level, try not to take more than 3 CS courses at once. And of those 3, not more than 2 that have a lot of programming, because otherwise you can run into a situation where you don't have physically enough hours in the week to do all your work. You know, by the time you get to your junior or senior year, you know, you might be working an internship or a part-time job or doing research with a professor, and those hours add up very quickly. So just be careful about the combinations of courses you take. And you know, so seek out some advice from an advisor to help you with that choice. Okay, so I would throw those like 2 main things out at you as a general advice, I guess.
Yes, perfect.
I would also like to share basically my screen for something that we have discussed, but I don't know if the students have access to this workflow. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep.
this is work. So you have to be aware of the prerequisites for every single course.
Mm-hmm.
And this basically chart is basically showing what are these prerequisites. Like for instance, to take 303, you would need 215 and 214. In order to take 220, you need 214. And there are similar requirements for the honor students. Be aware of these basically prerequisites for courses. I don't think that we have this on our website, but we basically got one from our sister or sibling department at SUNY Korea. And basically you can see the order that you need on the programming track, which is the longest basically branch in these 3. You basically need to take 114, 214, 216, 316, 416. And then there are similar for the hardware track. You need to take at some point 220, preceded by 214, followed by 310 and 320. These are required courses. And similarly on the theory track, you need to take 215, followed by 303 and 373. That's basically it about this workflow.
Thank you so much. And now we can go into specific questions, just in case any other general notes you guys would like to make before we go into more Q&A. All right.
Maybe when you do the Q&A, you can also name the person to respond, so we don't rush all of us to respond to the question.
Yes, of course, of course. Now it just involves a bit of scrolling up, so thank you for your patience. We already answered about where to find the form in your drive, which is perfect. I believe to start out, Jake asked, would 215 and 220 be a good combo for next semester then, as an alternative to 216 and 220? Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure who directly he is asking with that question.
I can answer. Yeah, I would say that that's a better combination if you can do it. It depends on your timing though. So 216 is a prerequisite for a lot of 300 level courses. So if you can split 216 and 220 into 2 different semesters without slowing your progress or delaying your graduation, then sure. So someone wrote a comment, Cynthia wrote that if you take 114 your first semester, which a lot of students do, then you can actually postpone taking 220 by 1 semester. So in your third and fourth semesters, you could take 216 and 220 probably in that order. But if your first semester you take so let's say CSE 101, then you don't have that option and still graduate in 4 years really. So, so Jake, in your circumstance, and it's really, this is why you see one of us in a meeting, if you can split 216 and 220, then it's good. So you could do 215 and 216 together, or 215 and 220 together. That would be fine.
All right, perfect. And we do have a couple of questions popping up in the chat, but there were just a couple I wanted us to address from advanced sign-in. Someone asked if CSE 320 and 310 was a good idea.
320 and 310?
Without any other information, yes.
I would try to take 320 by itself in terms of your coding coursework. That's the hardest required course you're probably going to take. So if you could match up 320 with, let's say, a theory course and a non-technical course, as we have in the sample schedule, I think that's the best option. So I would not take 320 with another programming course if you could help it.
Mm-hmm.
That's my advice.
310 pairs well with 416.
Yeah, that would be better.
That's good. Then we had a question about the BS/MS/CS program. And they said, I am an area of interest in CS and interested in the BS/MS/CS program. So what should I do? And also what research opportunities are available for CS undergraduate students?
So what are the 2 parts of the question? Sorry, I missed the first part.
No worries. I think for anyone interested in the BS/MS program, what should their first steps be? And then the second part of the question was about research opportunities that are available. So
All once you can take the MSBS thing, and then I'll talk about the research thing.
Excellent. Thank you. So we have standard requirements for the BSMS part, which are that you have to have at least 3 upper level technical courses. That basically there are no requirements that it has to include 320 or some other 310, but there have to be 3 upper level technical courses with an average of CSE GPA of 3.25. Those are the requirements to basically qualify for the BSMS program, to apply to the BSMS program. And I personally recommend that you take at least that you have at least 1 programming upper level requirement. And I can tell you from every single application is reviewed by 3 different faculty, and the majority decision is rendered to the applicant. And you can reapply in case that you want that you were not accepted the first year. I can tell you every semester we take about 10 to 20 students, and really there is no downside to this program. It's very easy to withdraw from the program if you decide that you have something more lucrative, like for instance, if you have a job lined up, and you can still use your graduate courses that you took as an undergraduate as technical electives. We also have a video about an hour over a presentation and questions about the BSMS program. There are always special cases, double majors, honor students, and so on. So please watch that video. Is posted on the BSMS website. And Richard, you can talk about research.
So for undergraduate research, I guess I'd like to highlight three things. One is that you can do a 487, which is a CSE 487 3-credit class usually, which can be all manner of different things. I mean, I do have a student this semester that is doing a 487 where I had a specific need and I recruited him for that project. That's usually a student that was in a class with you. In fact, Regina, who is here, you know, she did a 487 with me last semester. I had a specific need. Sometimes it's born out of a student idea as well. Sometimes some of our research labs in the department, which are usually filled with graduate students, but sometimes they also have opportunities for undergrad students. And those would typically be, somebody wants to know if I want to renew my, no, my, I keep getting these phone calls from, anyway. But the other one is VIP, which is kind of what I wanted to mention here. So there is a program with the College of Engineering called the Vertically Integrated Projects. And this provides semester to semester to semester sort of rolling projects and research opportunities. And there are a number of different projects. And I do see some of my own team members here. And I saw Cynthia here. And the idea there is that you're working on a project with a group of people, not just one semester, but you're hopefully making even better project with sort of a rolling team members, so that from semester to semester, the project can get better and better and better. And team members will join the project, stay for 2, 3, 4 semesters, and then hand it over to other students. And I have a team, so I've listed the teams there that I do with Eddie Chan. She's in biomedical engineering. So the projects that we're working on to some degree are related to biomedical engineering, although not all of the teams really are. Some of them are about building technology for that. And then there are other teams. I know Rob Kelly has a team that relates to, I believe, redistricting, gerrymandering, things like that. And then there are a whole other number of teams as well. If anyone is interested, I actually will be losing a number of team members next semester to graduation. And so for next semester, I am looking for students who are interested in continuing work on these projects. Note that we are using the Node platform. So we are using the MERN stack. In fact, we built, Cynthia is in the team that is building a front-end API so that we don't have to rely on other front-end APIs. And I'm talking about a CSS API. And then we have another team that's built the infrastructure for easily making a full stack web application, which we're then using to make 3 different applications essentially. So anyway, I am looking for our team for new students, which they will only accept students who are sophomore and above. But for me, I typically like to have students who have taken 316. So they've made it to that point. So all of the things that we're discussing are not completely foreign to them. But we do have one sophomore this semester who has not yet taken 316. And we presume that when she does, then she'll be able to make more contributions to our project, things like that.
All right, thank you so much for that opportunity. And the last questions that were sent in advance were in terms of what a possible second semester of their freshman year might be like and what math courses they would recommend for freshman year. But for those questions, I think Molly and Sarah, would you definitely recommend the sample schedule, or would you like to talk about what a typical freshman spring is like?
Sure. So it can certainly vary depending on what you're coming in with, either via AP credit or transfer credit, or how you scored on your math placement exam. As I said, I think following the sample course sequence is important. Of course, it might be a little bit different depending, again, what you're coming in with credit for. For example, if you have Calculus 1 and Calculus 2, as a freshman, you can go ahead and take linear algebra. It really is, I think, following the sample course sequence is most important. But there is nuances where you might be taking courses that are higher level. You just want to be careful, especially if you took 114 in your freshman year. If you're going in and now taking 2 CSE courses for the first time in your sophomore year, you want to make sure you're not pairing that with a lot of other courses where you're not able to give enough time to be successful in all of your coursework. And I apologize, my dog is barking, so 1 second.
No worries at all. All right. Oh, and sorry, did I interrupt you, Molly? Were you?
No, as similar to what Sarah said, I think using your like personalized checklist too, you can kind of see like the sequence of courses and it's more individualized. So if you do come in with AP credit for something, it'll be noted on your checklist so you can see what will be next sequence wise.
All right, perfect. And now I am going to try to go through the questions as they were sent in the chat. I see Professor McDonnell, you've taken care of a lot of these questions already, so thank you so much.
I can answer some, the more general ones though I can answer, and I didn't answer all of them.
Yeah.
But if you want, I can go summarize them again if you like. Yeah, I didn't touch on every, wow, I'm like scrolling back now, there's a bunch I missed, but.
No worries, I have a couple written down if that helps.
Sure. Why don't you fire away, Isabel?
Alrighty. So to start, someone asked, do you know when CSE 363 will be offered again?
Right, that was, right. So a couple of students asked like, what's coming up the next academic year? We have not made up the schedule yet for the coming school year. So like who's teaching what or what we're even teaching. So that is to be determined. I don't know. I don't even know what I'm teaching next fall.
Yeah.
Nobody in this room does. So
Makes complete sense, yeah.
We'll find out soon, but I know we have one of our security faculty coming off of leave. So to Connor's question, I'm hopeful that we'll have more security courses.
Perfect. And Yang asked, 114 and 214 don't need to be taken at SUNY Korea. Yeah, which?
That's right, yes. That's just the diagram that Professor Fodor was showing, yeah, which he took from SUNY K's website.
Then another student asked, since CSE 300 is not a programming heavy class, could I take it with CSE 320 and 312?
So we usually recommend that you split up 300 and 312 into separate semesters because they're non-technical courses. Some students like to double them up and take them both with 320. But then what happens is in a later semester, you'll take 3 technical classes at the same time, which might be okay, depending on what you take. But if you look very carefully it's at the junior year, you'll see that in each semester, there's one technical, like one programming course, one theory course, and one non-technical course, which was done deliberately. So that's what we recommend. But many students either can't do that for whatever reason. So as long as you're careful about your other commitments while taking 316 and 320, you know, generally speaking, you'll be okay.
All right, very helpful perspective there. Then someone asked if the internship class counts as an elective. They didn't include a course number, so.
Yeah, CSE 488. So yes, you can use the use the computer science internship course once as a technical elective for 3 credits.
Okay. Very helpful to know. Someone asked a bit more of a specific question. If 316 combined with 351 and 385 would be too work intensive. It may be helpful if Professor McKenna, you could talk about what 316 is all about or your understanding of the work level. Maybe that would help the student.
Right. So if we think about 114 is introducing you to the basics of programming, like we think of that as the fundamental tools of writing code in the Java programming language, object-oriented programming, but also iteration, conditional statements, loops, and things like that. 214 then extends that. You add another tool, which is an understanding of data structures. So linked lists and trees and graphs and things like that. 216 then gives you a broader perspective on the types of programming languages that are out there. So you're not just in the world of object-oriented programming languages like Java. Java is one particular language which has its own unique characteristics, but you're introduced to things like functional programming, and you're dealing with programming languages that are very different from Java. And then 316, the idea is that we are trying to get students thinking in terms of not just the rules for writing code, but how to well organize code, how to write quality code. And there are components of design there and design patterns. And we have done so in recent years in cooperation with reactive programming. I think reactive programming is actually part of the course. So the semesters that I taught, we used the React library. And there is also a component for security and a component for databases. All these things are important for any real world application. So the hope in 316 is to give students an experience, and it is a project course. There is a project in the second half of the semester. First half of the semester is homeworks using a set of technologies, and the second half of the semester is a project. And the project is larger than any of the projects that would have been worked on in 114, 214, 216. And the idea is that it gives the students a more realistic type of a project, and hopefully prepares them then to do a great project in 416, where in 316 they're given the spec, they're told what to make. In 416, to some degree, they get much more freedom in developing the spec. And in fact, one of the big homework assignments in 416 is in developing the spec, which means figuring out what to make and how it should look like and what all the functionality should be, things like that. So 316 is hopefully then setting up 416 as well.
All right, perfect. And I have one more general question, and then we could go ahead and break into breakout rooms where each advisor could be placed in a room just in case people have very specific questions for said advisor. But the last question that I think might be helpful for everyone to hear is this one. Is there an order of difficulty or amount of time spent for the CSE core classes, or are they all equal in terms of time and difficulty? So
they vary a lot. So
yeah.
They vary a lot. I mean, the programming intensive courses will tend to consume the most of your time. However, you know, if you're a little weak on maybe the mathematical or theory side of things, those courses could rise to the same level of difficulty, really, and time commitment. So it really depends on what you're coming to the table with, what languages you know before you get to a course. You know, maybe you take Professor McKenna's 316 class, and before you get to his course, you're already pretty good with JavaScript. So maybe his course won't be as bad as if you know, as much work. I don't say bad. I mean, it's McKenna. His course is going to be awesome, right? But you know what I'm saying? It's like your experience won't be as challenging. It's going to be challenging already because he gives big assignments, but it won't be as bad, as difficult as for a student who's coming in there with zero knowledge of any of this stuff, right? So it depends. It really depends on a lot of things. But I think as a general
Kevin's
rule,
220 will be bad no matter.
There we go. Yeah. So I mean, some of the courses that are sort of notorious for being a lot of work, you know, 220, 320, 416. I think we can throw 316 in there now. It's a well-established course. But keep in mind, you know, from these hard classes, you're going to learn a lot. You're generally speaking going to learn the most from these situations which really challenge you. So I would say view it in this way. But our theory courses can be very difficult too. You know, algorithms can be very challenging. CSE 303 has very abstract material in it. So it can, you know, it can vary a lot. 310, our networking class, has a lot of detail. You know, any kind of systems or systems-oriented domain, it's debatable whether I think networks are systems, but there's just a terrific amount of detail, and that can be overwhelming to some students. So it really depends a lot on your mindset, on what interests you, what else you're doing that semester. There's just really a lot of variables, but the general
Yeah, I
rule.
think about my own experience as a student, and I guess I'm very much a programmer. I always liked the programming course because I could always test what I do. So if I could figure out how to solve a problem, I could test it and know whether it works or not. The courses that I struggled in were the algorithms course, theory of computation, because you can't test things. That being said, the amount of time needed for some of the programming courses can be extraordinary. So, you know, depending on, you know, what you're working on and how easy the problem is and things like that. So, I mean, I can remember a graduate course I had to take in computer graphics, which I think Kevin also took, where the project just took forever. And I could have more or less spent an infinite amount of time on it if I wanted to. So the amount of time for some of those things, for the programming stuff, even though you have a compiler and you have the ability to run it and test it, sometimes the time investment is really just the big difference. But I find the material in the theoretical courses is not as well suited to me. Like Steve Skeena would be much better, you know, better at answering questions in that material, and so would Paul, right?
All right, that's a very helpful perspective. And with that, I am going to create 4 breakout rooms and allow participants to choose the room that they see fit. And I will rename them based on your year. While I do this, it would be great if any SBCS or WiCS people in the chat could resend that sign-in link once more. Right. And then our advisors can feel free to go to any of the rooms they feel like they could advise best in. I'm opening all the rooms. But I would recommend, oh, go ahead.
Since we finished this main part, do you want to stop the recording?
Let me see. I believe the recording does not get the individual breakout rooms, so that is a fair point. So for anyone watching this in the future, thank you for watching this, and now we will go into the breakout rooms. Yeah, how's the future? I hope it's better. All right, and I'm hitting stop.